Every day the world loses legends, icons whose lives shaped our culture, our memories, our hearts. From actors to musicians, pioneers to visionaries, their stories deserve to be remembered and celebrated. Welcome back. Here we honor the lives, achievements, and legacies of those who passed. The news was confirmed quietly in the early hours of March 19, 2026. Carlos Ray Chuck Norris, a man whose name became a symbol of strength and resilience, had passed away at the age of 86. For many it felt unreal. A figure so deeply tied to power and endurance now belonged to memory. He had lived a life that seemed larger than reality. Yet his journey began in a modest setting, far from the lights of Hollywood. Born on March 10, 1940, Norris grew up with discipline shaped not by fame but by struggle. Those early years built the foundation of the man the world would later admire. Before the fame there was service. Norris joined the United States Air Force, where his path first crossed with martial arts. What began as training soon became purpose. He committed himself fully, mastering multiple disciplines with patience and focus. Karate, taekwondo, judo, and more, each one shaping his identity. His rise in martial arts was not sudden. It came through years of dedication, competition, and quiet determination. He became a champion, respected not only for his skill but for his discipline. Those who trained with him often spoke of his calm presence and steady mindset. Chuck never chased attention, one former student shared in a tribute. He let his work speak for him. And it always did. The transition to Hollywood came almost by chance. At first, Norris worked behind the scenes training celebrities. But destiny had other plans. A meeting with Bruce Lee would change everything. Their connection led to a role in The Way of the Dragon in 1972, where Norris played a powerful opponent. That moment introduced him to the world. From there his career began to grow. It was actor Steve McQueen who encouraged him to take acting seriously. Norris listened. He stepped forward, taking on leading roles that would soon define an era. Films like Breaker, and Good Guys, where Black turned him into a recognizable face across America. But it was not just the action that made him famous. It was the presence. Calm, controlled, and unshaken. His characters reflected something deeper: discipline, honor, and quiet strength. In the years that followed, Norris became more than an actor. He became a cultural symbol. His name carried weight, often spoken with respect and sometimes with humor. Yet behind the image was a man who remained grounded. Those close to him remember that side most clearly. He was strong, yes, a family member shared in a heartfelt statement. But his greatest strength was kindness. He cared deeply about people, especially those who needed guidance. Away from the screen, Norris devoted time to helping others. He supported youth programs and worked to guide young people toward discipline and purpose. He believed in building strength not just in the body but in character. As the years passed, his presence in films slowed, but his influence never faded. Generations continued to look up to him. For some, he was a hero of action cinema. For others, he was a role model of discipline and faith. When news of his passing spread, tributes came from around the world. Fans, fellow actors, and athletes all shared their memories. Social media filled with messages of respect and gratitude. One fellow actor wrote, "Chuck Norris didn't just play strong characters. He lived as one. His legacy will outlast all of us." Another tribute read, "He taught us that strength is not loud. It is steady, patient, and true." Even in his later years, Norris remained a figure of quiet inspiration. He did not seek the spotlight, yet it never left him. His life had become a story that people carried with them. A story of discipline. A story of resilience. A story of becoming more than what the world expects. His passing marks the end of an era but not the end of his impact. The lessons he lived by continue to echo. In dojos, in films, in the hearts of those who admired him, his presence remains. There is something timeless about a life built on purpose. Chuck Norris showed that strength is not only about power but about control, patience, and integrity. These are the qualities that defined him both on and off the screen. As the world says goodbye, it does so with respect. Not just for the roles he played but for the man he was. Carlos Ray Chuck Norris will be remembered as more than a legend of action. He will be remembered as a man who stood firm in his values, who inspired without noise, and who left behind a legacy that will not fade. And in that legacy his strength lives on. The news arrived with a quiet weight, felt most deeply by those who understood the heart of the game. John Robert Fitzgerald, a man who once stood at the center of the field with strength and discipline, had passed away. There were no grand headlines at first, only a steady wave of remembrance from those who knew what he meant to football. For many he was not the loudest name on the roster. He was not the one chasing spotlight or praise. But in the world of professional football his role carried a different kind of importance. He was the anchor, the steady force that held everything together. Born into a time when the game demanded both physical strength and mental toughness, Fitzgerald grew into a player defined by discipline. From his early days, it was clear that he understood something deeper about football. It was not just about winning. It was about trust, timing, and the quiet bond between teammates. As he made his way into professional football, Fitzgerald found his place with the Dallas Cowboys. It was there, at the center position, that he became known for his consistency and resilience. Every play began with him. Every movement relied on his precision. Teammates often described him as calm under pressure. While the crowd roared and the game moved at full speed, Fitzgerald remained focused. His presence brought balance to the field. He was the kind of player you didn't have to worry about, one former teammate shared. You knew he would do his job every single time. His role may not have always been seen by fans, but it was deeply respected within the game. Coaches trusted him. Players relied on him. He was the kind of athlete who built success quietly, one play at a time. During his years with the Cowboys, Fitzgerald became part of a generation that defined toughness in football. The game was different then. It was raw, demanding, and unforgiving. And yet he met every challenge with steady determination. There were no shortcuts in his journey. Every achievement came through effort and focus. He trained hard, played harder, and never allowed the pressure to shake his discipline. Off the field, those who knew him speak of a man who carried the same values into his daily life. He was grounded, respectful, a person who understood the importance of teamwork not just in sports but in life. A close friend once said, "John didn't need attention to prove who he was. His actions spoke louder than anything else." As time moved forward and his playing days came to an end, Fitzgerald stepped away from the field, but not from the spirit of the game. His legacy continued through the players he influenced and the standards he helped set. Football changed over the years. The pace became faster. The spotlight grew brighter. But the kind of discipline Fitzgerald represented remained timeless. It became part of the foundation that future players would build upon. When news of his passing spread, the response came from across the football community. Former teammates, coaches, and fans shared memories that painted a clear picture of the man he was. One tribute read, "He was the backbone of a team that never gave up. His strength was quiet, but it carried everyone forward." Another message shared online said, "Players like John Fitzgerald are rare. He didn't just play the game. He respected it." These words reflected more than just his career. They reflected the way he lived. With humility. With purpose. With a deep respect for the role he played in something bigger than himself. His passing marks the loss of a player who understood the true meaning of teamwork. A man who stood firm in his position both on and off the field. Someone who did not seek recognition, yet earned it through every moment of effort. In the end, it is not always the loudest names that leave the deepest impact. Sometimes, it is the steady presence. The one who shows up, does the work, and holds everything together. John Robert Fitzgerald was that presence. As the game continues, as new players step onto the field, there will always be a part of his legacy within it. In every snap, in every moment of trust between teammates, his influence quietly remains. He will be remembered not just as a Dallas Cowboys center, but as a symbol of discipline and quiet strength. A player who gave everything to the game without asking for anything in return. And in that memory his story lives on. The news was confirmed in a quiet statement that quickly spread across media and social platforms. Mel Schilling, a well-known relationship expert and television personality, had passed away. The announcement carried a soft heaviness, felt deeply by those who had followed her voice for years. For many, it was not just the loss of a public figure, but the loss of a guide in matters of the heart. She was known for her calm presence. A voice that did not judge but listened. A voice that helped people understand what they could not explain themselves. In a world often filled with confusion about love and relationships, Mel Schilling became a steady point of understanding. Her journey into public life was shaped by psychology and human behavior. She studied people deeply, not from distance but from empathy. Over time, her work brought her into television, where she became a trusted expert on relationships and emotional connection. Audiences connected with her because she spoke simply. She did not overcomplicate emotions. Instead, she broke them down in a way that felt human. Many said it felt like she was speaking directly to them, even through a screen. One viewer wrote in a tribute, "She made me feel understood at a time when I felt completely lost. Her words stayed with me." Another message shared online read, "Mel Schilling didn't just give advice. She gave people the courage to face their emotions." Her presence on television became more than just professional appearances. She became a comforting figure for many who were struggling with relationships, heartbreak, and self-understanding. Through her guidance, people learned to see love not only as emotion, but also as communication and patience. As her career grew, so did her influence. She appeared in various programs focused on relationships and emotional healing. In each appearance, she maintained the same calm tone, the same steady approach. She did not raise her voice to be heard. Instead, she spoke in a way that made people listen closely. Those who worked with her often described her as deeply compassionate. A colleague once shared, "She had this rare ability to make people feel safe, even in the middle of emotional pain." That was her real strength. Outside of television, Mel Schilling dedicated much of her life to helping individuals understand themselves better. She believed that emotional awareness was the foundation of healthy relationships. This belief guided her work and shaped her message over the years. Her passing has left a quiet emptiness in the space she once filled with clarity and care. Many fans have returned to her past interviews and advice segments, finding comfort in her words even after her passing. Social media has been filled with reflections from viewers, public figures, and fellow professionals. One tribute stated, "She helped people build bridges where there were walls." Her work will continue in every life she touched. Another message read, "Her voice was calm, but its impact was powerful. She changed the way many of us understand love." There is something deeply human about the kind of work she did. It was not about fame or attention. It was about understanding pain, confusion, and connection. It was about helping people feel less alone in their emotional struggles. Even in silence, her influence continues. People still repeat her advice, still share her insights, still find comfort in the way she explained complex emotions in simple, honest words. As time moves forward, her absence will be felt in quiet moments. In conversations where her guidance once helped bring clarity. In situations where her voice once offered calm understanding. But her legacy does not end with her passing. It continues in the people she helped. In the relationships she guided. In the emotional strength she encouraged others to build within themselves. Mel Schilling will be remembered not only as a television expert, but as a voice of empathy in a complicated world. A person who reminded others that understanding love begins with understanding oneself. And in that quiet reminder, her presence remains.